one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to base hit. Justice has scored the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie Jackson.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Back to throw. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them away from their faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. Yes, it's goodbye. One run.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Hey! Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, and get them out of here. You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the program. I am your host, Dan Scott. Good to have you with us, and we've got a good show lined up for you. Going to have two guests with us today, Dave Glenn of the ACC Sports Journal and the David Glenn Show, which is syndicated throughout the state of North Carolina. He'll be with us via phone at 10:25 to take a tour around the Atlantic Coast Conference like we do every Wednesday. And then in the final segment of the program, about 10:45 or so, Adam Herendeen, the women's tennis coach here at Furman, is going to be in studio. And he's going to be talking about a big event they've got coming up here on campus and online. And it's actually already going on online, but the on-campus event will be on Saturday. It's an open house tied to a silent auction to help raise money for the women's tennis program. And we're going to talk to him about that. We're going to show you where you can go to start the online process as far as bidding. We're going to run you through some of the items that are available there as well. There's some awfully good stuff available at this online auction. Here's a little information that we can pop up on the screen for you right now that you can see that tells you a little bit more about it. They have an open practice from 2 to 4 p.m., and then you see at the bottom the open house with light refreshments from 4 to 5:30, and that's when the bidding process will wrap up. You can bid online through Friday night, and again, coming up in a little bit later on when he is here, we'll take you through some of the items that are available for bid. But looking forward to it. Also looking forward to the rest of the week. Coming up tomorrow, Brett Harker will be in studio with us as we are now less than a month from first pitch at Latham Stadium. It'll be Morehead State in for that 3-game series to open the 2019 college baseball season for the Paladins. And Brett will be here to talk to us about the opening of spring practice, if you will, heading into the season and all of the expectations for the 2019 Furman baseball team. I can hardly wait. I did some work on my scorebook yesterday. I don't know if you saw online, but over the years in doing the scorebook that I do when I broadcast the games, there are certain stats that I kind of keep up with on a running basis. I did it for Furman the last 2 or 3 seasons, and I did it for the half year this past summer that we filled in for Ed Jensen over at the Greenville Drive, kind of trends that develop. And at the beginning of every game, when you go into the press box and you sit down and you start to work on your scorebook, I would write each one of those categories in individually and then have to go back after we got all the stats and then fill in the stats. Well, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed a lot of times. This is the scorebook. I don't know how well you can see it when I put it up here, but you probably can't see it at all because of the white balance. But anyway, I spent yesterday, I got the categories already listed now, and made all the copies and got my scorebook ready to go. So, I've taken out about half of that amount of work. Like I say, it only takes me sometimes 2-3 years to figure out things at times, but that's the way it goes. In any event, baseball is upon us. Brett Harker will be here on Thursday, and then Friday we'll be joined via phone by Todd Shaughnessy, the very fine writer of the Spartanburg Herald-Journal, who covers the Wofford Terriers, and he'll help us preview Furman and Wofford basketball, which is, of course, Saturday night at 7 p.m. up at Jerry Richardson Indoor Stadium. So that's a busy week the rest of the week, starting today with 2 guests. So we're looking forward to it and glad to have you along with us for the ride. The show is brought to you each and every day by Carolina Creative. They are our presenting sponsor. Not just simple, but simply brilliant. They have put together the brand new website that we have, thedanscottshow.com, which we hope that you're taking advantage of and checking out. We also encourage you, if you need your own website as a business, you need something as simple as a logo done, you need help taking your marketing and your branding to the next level, Randy Looper and his folks at Carolina Creative are the ones who can handle that for you. See the contact info there in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and you're going to hear a lot more about them as we go to our first break. Carolina Creative, the presenting sponsor of the Dan Scott Show. We'll be back in a moment and continue here as we're just getting things cranked up. Don't go away. Hey, everybody, Dan Scott here, and I want to tell you about my technology partner, Carolina Creative Group. When my show needed a creative technology boost, I turned to Carolina Creative Group. My custom design website is going to take marketing as well as brand strategy and development to new levels. The search engine optimization means that my clients' ads will be seen by more people more often. And if I have any questions, Carolina Creative Group is just a phone call away. Friends, that is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You can find out all the ways that Carolina Creative Group can help your business by simply calling 864-250-2012. Again, that's 864-250-2012, or simply visit them online at carolinacreative.co. Carolina Creative Group, technology partner of the Dan Scott Show.
If you're looking for the perfect frame for that special photo or painting, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca can deliver for you. Family owned for nearly 4 decades, Trevor and the folks at Custom Corners Frame Shop pride themselves on quality, presentation, and professionalism. They offer picture framing for every budget, and every job is custom. Custom Corners Frame Shop also sells work from local artists as well as locally themed gifts. For more information, visit them at 289 Market Street in Seneca. Call 864-882-7736 or find them on Facebook, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca.
Imagine a university. A university where your passion for protecting local water sources is encouraged. And now, your work not only benefits your career, but the health of those in your community and around the world. This is Furman. This is the Furman Advantage.
Dan Scott here for the Atlanta Bread Company. What do I like about Atlanta Bread? Well, too much to mention in a short commercial, but here are a few things. Bread baked daily fresh on site, a tremendous selection of soup, sandwiches, and salads, seasonal special additions to the menu, delicious hot coffee, and a bevy of other drink options. And yeah, can't forget about the baked sweet goodies. Dine in or carry out, and when you have the Atlanta Bread Company app, you can order and pay online, then breeze past the lines to the pickup counter to get your food. Experience it for yourself. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
When you go in search of a fence company, what's your criteria? Experience? Trust? A company that gets it right the first time and stands behind its work? Then your search is over. Faulkner Fence has been Greenville's fence company for more than 40 years. Ed Faulkner started the business, and now son Todd continues the tradition of excellence. So regardless of your fencing needs, commercial, industrial, or residential, trust the company that Greenville has trusted for over 4 decades. Faulkner Fence, 864-271-4626, or online at faulknerfencecompany.com.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. I am your host, Dan Scott. Good to have you with us as we continue on this Wednesday edition of the program. Dave Glenn coming up in just a few minutes at 10:25, and then Adam Herendeen in studio at 10:45 to talk about the women's tennis fundraiser coming up this weekend and the online silent auction that is ongoing as we speak. I saw a very interesting tweet. You know, I am not above drifting into some nostalgia and using my experience, we'll say, to my advantage from time to time. Now, granted, it's a matter of perspective. I'm 51 years old, so there's a lot of water that's passed under the bridge, to be sure. But at the same time, I'm not Rudy Jones old, who I noticed was on our Facebook live feed a little while ago. Of course, not many people are Rudy Jones old. So there is a matter of perspective there. But basically, the tweet that I was talking about said something like this. It said, tweet an experience or something you did or something you lived with, I think, or grew up with as a child that today's youth would have no idea what you're talking about. And, there were the requisite, turn the TV, son. Okay, which of the other 2 channels do you want, Dad? 45s and actual vinyl albums, although those are making a comeback. And there were those kind of answers. But mine was trying to pull in a distant radio station to hear your favorite baseball team's game. Now, I grew up in an area that was Cincinnati Reds country. My hometown radio station was a Reds affiliate. So, there are most of the time I just flip on 1400 AM WBTH B14 and would be able to listen to the game when I wanted to. But there are times that maybe there was something going on, or it was only 1,000 watt FM. So if I was staying just 6 or 7 miles outside of town at my grandmother's house, sometimes at night that station wouldn't come in. So I would sit and I would dial in WLW out of Cincinnati, 50,000 watt flamethrower that reaches, still to this day, reaches into 38 states across this great nation of ours, and would listen to the game. And if anybody of a certain age knows anything about picking up those stations at night after dark, when the signal carries, it'll be strong, and then it'll fade out, and then it'll come back in, and then it'll fade out, and that's just part of atmospheric conditions and the way AM radio works. But that's the first thing that came to mind for me. We are so, and I am, now Tom Van Hoy and I coming back from a basketball game or a football crew coming back from a football game. Hey, let's see what's on. Do we go to the radio? No. I go to my TuneIn radio app, and we, start pulling in college football games or college basketball games to listen to other teams and other broadcasters. If I want to listen to the Reds, I go to the MLB app that I have on here. If I want to listen to somebody else, I go to the SiriusXM app that I have on here, and I don't have to worry about, am I going to be able to get a sustainable radio signal, although there are times that I still do that just because I love radio. But for kids today, this online really is all they know. And, our job is to try to educate them a little bit about things. I will say this, the world of sports and probably news talk radio are the 2 areas where the radio still gets, I'm talking about AM radio more than anything. AM radio still gets quite a bit of play because, even as much as big-time sports has tried to shift to FM radio because of the clear signal, the fact remains that if you're in a major city, you look at WLW in Cincinnati, you look at the Fan 660 in New York, you look at stations like that all across the country, they're still on these big flame-throwing AM stations that are going to get the signal out well beyond the confines of their city or their territory. So sports talk, news talk, sports broadcasting, game action, AM radio still gets a lot of play. But kids, by and large, today still, I think, have no understanding of what it was like to have to try to tune in one of those distant radio stations to be able to hear your favorite team play, because we have everything accessed now via online streaming. So that was the first thing that came to mind for me, and I consider myself to be what I call the bridge generation. I am old enough to remember vaguely only having 2 or 3 or 4 television stations. I remember 8-track tapes. I'm old enough to remember the first video game. We had the Atari, the first home video game. I remember the first advent of using a computer, and the hard drive was a flat black Radio Shack recorder with a cassette tape in it. That was the memory for the first computers that we ever used at school back in the late 70s and early 80s. So I've got that part of it, but then bridging the gap, that's why I call myself part of the bridge generation, to the technology of today that I use and I love and will continue to use. But there are people in my age bracket who fall into the same bridge category. There are some who are way on the other side, one way or the other, who would not understand how some of the technology of today works, and then the younger folks couldn't understand what we called technology back years and years ago. I thought it was a fun little tweet that was going around on Twitter, and a lot of people nationally and otherwise were answering that. But that was mine. The tuning in a distant radio station, an AM radio station, to hear your favorite team play a game. Kids today just probably don't understand that. Just you can have that for free. That was something that I saw this morning and thought would be fun to talk about a little bit. When we come back, and I'll tell you what, this is where I miss having the old radio show, because I guarantee you that topic would have just taken over 3 hours. Without question. That would have been one of the easiest days that I've ever worked. It'd just be one phone call right after another. It's days like that I miss the old radio show. When we come back, one carryover from the old radio show will be up with us, Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com, and we'll talk a number of things college basketball-wise, including Duke being banged up. How good is Virginia? And anything else we can squeeze out of Dave in about 15 or 20 minutes. This is the Dan Scott Show, and we'll return right after this.
For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant more life-changing wishes. Visit Make-A-Wish online now. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Hall's Chop House in downtown Greenville is the Greenville Steakhouse. Why? Well, it starts with the Allen Brothers Prime Steaks out of Chicago. The rest of the menu falls into place there. But it really goes beyond that. It's their level of service, their commitment to that service. The place is packed every night, and yet Billy and his staff have a way of making you and your table feel like you're the most important table in the place. They have lunch on Fridays and Saturdays, brunch on Sundays, live music every time the doors are open. The Greenville Steakhouse is Hall's Chop House, Main Street, downtown. Tell them you heard about them on the Dan Scott Show.
Mayhem is everywhere.
I'm a fight in the stadium parking lot. One of us was rooting for the home team. The other was also rooting for the home team, but misheard the first one. Them's fighting words. Now we're working this out all over your car. And this could last a while because we're evenly matched. We're both big. We're both better at punching stuff than doing puzzles. We both think Italy's in South America. We both peaked somewhere between 8th grade and the second time we took 8th grade. Oh, and while you were gone, we've both been rammed repeatedly by the other into your car. Our already these scarred faces will heal, but if you've got cut rate insurance, you could be living with these dents. So get Allstate, where agents help keep you protected from mayhem. Like me.
Are you in good hands?
And easily, it's Ray Williams, Allstate, 864-859-7504.
Looking for a great car, but your credit needs work? Premier Automotivations is a professional referral service motivated to help you drive a car you love while rebuilding your credit. Late model cars of all kinds. Premier Automotivations can get you on the road and your credit on the road to recovery today. Serving all of upstate South Carolina, it's Premier Automotivations. Call Sherry today at 864-722-3785 or email cricketgravely@gmail.com.
Go the Distance Performance Coaching offers individualized coaching for distance runners of all ability levels, beginner to seasoned runner, and exists to help you achieve your running goals. All training plans are custom built, tailor-made just for you based on your experience, current fitness level, injury history, and goals. You're going to receive expert coaching from Hall of Fame runner Brock Bailey, and Coach Brock is ready to help you go the distance. You can find out everything you need to know about Go the Distance Performance Coaching and Brock Bailey at the website gocoach.run. Gocoach.run. That's Go the Distance Performance Coaching. I think we are back. Yeah, there we go. And I think I've even got the right screen up now that proves we are back and in the right segment. Sometimes I get kind of lost in the confusion of being a one-man band here, but that should not come as any great surprise to any of you, I'm sure. We are heading to the celebrity guest line and bringing in a guy who covers the Atlantic Coast Conference better than anybody and has been doing it longer than most. He is Dave Glenn, ACCSports.com. David Glenn Show, which is syndicated live throughout the state of North Carolina, and now is a contributor to The Athletic as well. I think he gave us a clue as to how old he's getting last week when he said that he has covered the league for about half of its very existence now. Welcome, Dave Glenn. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, Dan. Good to be with you again.
Good to be with you. I mean, you think about it, and this is just another indication of how we are progressing. I'll say it that way. I won't say getting old. but when you start thinking about some of the old line guys who had been around the Atlantic Coast Conference really from the very beginning, there are few and far between now. So you at 30-plus years, I mean, all of a sudden you're ranking, I know maybe not right at the top, but you got to be ranking near the top.
It's crazy, Dan, because I've been going to, for example, ACC tournaments for more than 30 years now. And I remember being the young guy who just thought to myself, I need to be quiet. I need to let these experts and these veterans ask all the questions. I'm just going to take notes. I'll write my articles. But I was truly at the bottom of the pecking order, say, in 1987 or 1988 would have been the first ACC tournament that I ever covered. And here we are in 2019. And when I go to that event in Charlotte in March, there will be, as you said, maybe a handful of those who've covered this league longer than I. There are a few colleagues that may be right or around those 3 decades or so. But I'll tell you what, the number of folks who have either retired or passed away is striking. And it is a sign of, however you want to put it, getting old, gaining wisdom and experience would be the glass half full way of doing things. And even in our state, I recently got asked a question, who was the greatest professional athlete to wear the uniform of any of our in-state teams here, not at the college level, but at the pro level. And the person who asked me the question said they asked me because I was one of the few people they knew who had been around for the entirety of the Carolina Panthers' existence as an NFL franchise, the entirety of the Hornets' existence as an NBA franchise, and the entirety of the Hurricanes' existence as an NHL franchise. And those are, of course, the big three in this state. So I had never looked at it that way, but it basically is a perfect fit, right? I arrived to cover such things at around the same time our state or our region, with the Panthers being a Carolinas team, pro sports started showing up at the same time I showed up. One had nothing to do with the other, but you wake up one day and all of a sudden people are looking at you for the expertise, and it's a fun job, as you and I talk about a lot. We get paid to write and talk about sports for a living, so all the rest of this stuff, getting old, may have more problems than not, but we get paid to write and talk about sports for a living, so I tend not to complain about such things.
No, I hear you. You know, time passes just like that. The Beatles' opening line at Sgt. Pepper was 20 years ago today. Well, it was 20 years ago last week that my wife and I moved to the upstate of South Carolina. And it just goes by. You know, my oldest daughter was in the 3rd grade. My youngest daughter was 3. They're both married now. I mean, time just has a way of going, and it kind of leads into this little fun topic that I told you we were going to start with today. You and I are roughly the same age, and going into the break, I told people I consider myself, and I think you'd fall into this category, we're the bridge generation. We can remember the days of 2 and 3 channels of television. We remember the very first video game, the Atari. I had one. The first advent of computers, maybe at school, before having them at home became a thing, and bridging the gap through today's technology and all of that stuff. So this question came up on Twitter today. And it's as follows. Without saying how old you are, name one thing from your childhood someone younger would not understand. And I thought, man, this is one of those days that I miss having the old radio show, because that would have just eaten up 3 hours. Without a doubt. My answer was listening to a distant AM radio station to catch your favorite baseball team's game. I think kids today probably have no clue what we had to go through sometimes to find out how our team was doing in real time.
Yeah, and my answer would be a twist or a variation on that. If you needed a phrase, I would say newspaper in the driveway.
Yeah.
And what that would symbolize to me is that we had to wait for information. Think about that in 2019 terms.
Mm-hmm.
You never have to wait for information. You think about what you're curious about or what you need to research, and you go get it, right? We did not have that option, period. If I wanted to know, did my favorite team win on the West Coast last night because, mom and dad made me go to bed as a young boy and I wasn't allowed to stay up that late. Well, you had to either try the radio and hope that the news came around to sports and you'd get a score, or you had to grab the newspaper on the driveway and hope that the deadlines were late enough to squeeze that score from the late game into your morning newspaper. Mm-hmm. And back then there were even, brace yourself, afternoon newspapers or evening newspapers. I grew up in the Philly area, so there was an evening bulletin for a while and the morning Inquirer. And many people subscribed to both. Why? Because you had to seek out information in ways that were not at all convenient. And you had to hope a game you wanted to see was on TV on one of those handful of channels. You had to hope the little tidbit of information was in the sports section of your newspaper the next day. I mean, you could watch your 5 o'clock or 11 o'clock TV news. You could listen to the radio and hope it came around to whatever you were seeking. But that's a lot of hoping and searching, right? Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you go to Google or one of the alternatives, and within a matter of seconds, you have whatever you were looking for. It was not the case in the 1970s and even 1980s when I was growing up.
Well, one of the great joys of a junior high school student who was really coming into his own as a sports fanatic was discovering that our junior high library got a weekly subscription to the sporting news.
Yes.
And finding the time every week to go into the library, get that sporting news, settle back into a chair, and just envelop everything that I could, including the baseball box scores from the previous week or from the previous print edition time frame. I love today's technology. I love the instantaneous nature of things. At the same time, Dave, I'd be lying if I didn't say I kind of miss that just a little bit.
I'm with you. Given one choice or the other, I mean, I think most of us embrace the positives, right?
Yeah.
We're all glad that we're not still using the outhouse in the backyard and we have, indoor plumbing, et cetera. And this is just the information age version of that. The pluses far, far outweigh the minuses. But just as a young person, I remember, and only with retrospect do I see it this way, I remember that being forced to fill the vacuum, right? I'm not married to a phone. There was no such thing as a smartphone or a cell phone. Filling the vacuum where you had to wait for the newspaper. You had to wait for these games to come to you and hope they were on TV. We filled it with games. We filled it with exercise. We filled it with creativity, mocking or imitating our favorite batting stance, or, playing the voice of our favorite broadcaster as we're playing a basketball game on the driveway or playing a baseball game in the backyard. It's not that you can't be creative anymore, but I think we were forced to contemplate more varieties of creativity, whereas now everything seems to be a button away and it's served up on a platter for you.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think that if I had to, I could still today imitate the batting stance of most of the great eight on the Big Red machine.
For sure.
Because I did it as a kid. Right? Yeah.
I mean, Harry Callis, Philadelphia Phillies, he's no longer with us, but I can hear in my head, Dan, Mike Schmidt, Hall of Fame third baseman for the Phillies, swinging a long drive to deep left center field, way back. That ball is out of here. Home run, Michael Jack Schmidt.
Yeah.
And my voice is nothing like Harry Callis's voice, but I can remember the inflection, the cadence, just the word choice. And that's something that I haven't heard in real time, since the 1980s.
Yeah, I'm fortunate that the guy that I grew up with is still doing it in Cincinnati, and I'm proud to be able to call him a friend now, Marty Brenneman. But for 34 years, he and Joe Nuxall were partners there, and that's what I grew up with. That was a soundtrack of my life. You're exactly right, and I don't know. And again, I think it comes from being of that generation. That's one of those things that I don't think kids would understand today. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have their own soundtracks. Maybe they have their own things. But the question was, what would they not understand from your childhood? And your newspaper on the driveway. I think that's a great kind of all-encompassing phrase.
Yeah, I've always liked the one of my favorite sayings of all time is the uncontemplated life is not worth living. And when we were young, we had time for contemplation. And now you have to build contemplation into your life where it does not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're just surrounded by stimuli. The TV is available with 1,000 channels. Everything is a button away on your smartphone, right? You have to coordinate time for reflection and contemplation. And I don't know how many people do that or don't do that. But we had plenty of time to, as my wife likes to say, contemplate our navels. Because even if you lived an active life, there was downtime.
Mm-hmm.
There was, create your own fun time. And I don't know if that happens today, but again, I think you and I both celebrate the pluses even as we contemplate the minuses.
Yeah, and that probably says something about us that both of us are using the phrase "when we were young." That kind of tells you where we're headed. Cobb Oxford, my buddy Cobb Oxford, who he and I are seriously kicking around the idea of starting a podcast called Grumpy Old Broadcasters. and
I like it.
And that's probably coming to a podcast near you before too much longer. All right, let's get some ACC stuff here before people wonder if we're going to get to anything at all. And this is Dave Glenn, and he does cover the Atlantic Coast Conference, by the way, present day as well as from a nostalgic standpoint. How badly is the Trey Jones injury going to hurt Duke moving forward? He's out indefinitely with that AC joint separation. How big of a deal is this?
It's a really big deal, mainly because we don't know his return date. In other words, we all know that Duke is one of the most talented teams that college basketball has ever seen. And what I mean by that is they have 4 freshmen that, if they want to be, can all be one-and-done freshmen and first-round picks in the NBA draft. That has never happened before in college basketball history, not with freshmen 4 one-and-done. The reality is, without Trey Jones, who's not their most talented player, will not be, he'll be the 4th NBA pick out of those 4 freshmen. However, he's the most essential piece, and he is the spearhead of what has been a really good defense. He has as high a basketball IQ as you will ever see with a freshman point guard. He's tough. He's smart. He's a floor leader. He's a distributor. He keeps those other NBA guys happy. He doesn't care what his own numbers look like. And his assist-turnover ratio, Dan, 6-1. There's a lot of good point guards in this league. Justin Robinson of Virginia Tech is a senior. His ratio is 2-1. Ty Jerome of Virginia is an all-ACC guy, and he's a junior. His ratio is 3-1. Trey Jones is 6-1 as a freshman. So they need him at both ends. And because there's no timetable, we don't know when he's coming back. Duke without Trey Jones is not winning a national championship or an ACC championship. The good news is he is expected to be back by then, of course. They just really don't know right now, as Virginia is coming to town on Saturday with an undefeated record. They don't believe he would be ready that quickly, and it's a guessing game as to when he will be back.
Speaking of Virginia, I know we touched on them briefly a couple of weeks ago, but they're 16-0 right now. Dave, are they that good?
I think they are. I mean, I don't think they're going to be the first team since 1976 Indiana to go undefeated, right? All the way through a national title. I don't think anybody is built that way. And Michigan and UVA are the only 2 that still have the 0 in the loss column. But are they that good in terms of, if you only gave me 4 teams to pick to win the national championship, would UVA be one of the 4? My answer is yes. Duke would also be one of those 4, by the way. I'd squeeze some combination of Gonzaga and Michigan State and Michigan and maybe Kansas into the other slots. But the one thing that people are underestimating, Dan, and it is true, by the way, that you need a first-round NBA draft pick to win the NCAA title. Preferably you have more than one. DeAndre Hunter of Virginia is a probable NBA lottery pick. And remember, he was not healthy as the Cavs infamously lost to the 16 seed, first ever 1 seed to lose to the 16 this past March. Hunter was not healthy for that game. So you have him inside and outside, and you have Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy as all ACC guards. Every offensive possession touches one or more of those 3 all ACC talents' hands. And, they're famous for their pack line defense and their slow tempo, and all that is the same under Tony Bennett. But the talent level is higher than what people typically think of when they think Tony Bennett UVA basketball. They still have those other earmarks of what has made them a consistent winner. But anybody underestimating their talent level is going to be in for a surprise, because people like you and me, there's only 15 slots on the all-ACC team. And the Virginia Cavaliers have probably 3 of the top 10 players in this league, with Kyle Guy, DeAndre Hunter, and Ty Jerome.
Jeff Capel starting to raise some eyebrows up at Pitt?
No doubt about it. And with, Mike Krzyzewski turning 72 years old next month, and no coach in college Division I men's basketball history has ever coached to the age of 75. I'm actually working on an article about that. 74 is the oldest age, and actually Jim Boeheim is 74 as we speak. So he's tying people like John Chaney of Temple and Lute Olson of Arizona, and I think Jim Phelan of Mount St. Mary's back in the day. So Boeheim is in the process of adding his name to that list. Kay turned 72 next month. And the reason I bring that up is that Jeff Capel, of course, is one of those always mentioned as whenever the time is right and Duke makes a transition, he's one of the top candidates to be Coach K's successor. And when you can inherit a dumpster fire at Pitt, they were hide your eyes bad the last 2 years under Kevin Stallings, and not only be competitive, but win some games. I mean, he recruited and signed 2 guards late. Trey McGowan is one of them. And those guys are leading them to victory. I mean, they're their 2 best players as true freshmen. So Jeff Capel, in a matter of months, has upgraded the talent level, upgraded the work ethic, and upgraded the execution level. And now Pitt, rather than being viewed as a surefire, cellar dweller this year, they're probably not an NCAA tournament team. But, man, he has changed the culture there in the blink of an eye. And that only bolsters his resume as a guy who's already been a successful head coach at places like VCU and Oklahoma.
Visiting with Dave Glenn, ACCsports.com, the David Glenn Show, and also a contributor to the Athletic Carolinas. Kind of wrapping it up, shift gears to football a little bit and start to cast an eye towards the NFL draft. Now that the college season is done, we have the list of early entries. We know who is going to make themselves available either by choice or by virtue that they've graduated and their careers are over. What does this draft look like from an ACC perspective?
Well, it looks fun for starters because quarterbacks are always part of the conversation. And believe it or not, Daniel Jones of Duke, who was an early entry, he already has his diploma, but he did have a year of eligibility left. Daniel Jones has a pretty good chance of cracking the first round. There are not as many first-round quarterbacks expected this year, but the ACC will be in the mix with probably Jones in the first round, and of course, others like Ryan Finley at NC State will be picked later. Brian Burns of Florida State. I know the Seminoles were sort of out of sight, out of mind because they had such a bad first year under Willie Taggart. He's the, edge rusher that is all the rage nowadays. He'll be a first-rounder. And of course, the Clemson Tigers, starting with Cleveland Farrell, he's an edge rusher. He's a big-time player and a big-time talent. He will represent the Tigers as they always are well represented, like the Seminoles, in the upper echelon of the NFL draft. I don't think it's going to be a vintage ACC year when it comes to such things, but those names that I mentioned will probably be among those leading the way, along with Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins. I mean, the rest of that Clemson list.
All this great stuff and a lot more can be found in several different locations. And as we wrap it up, Dave is going to tell us where you can go to find that laundry list of things. David?
Yeah, ACCsports.com is still our Grand Central station. We have weekly power rankings for ACC basketball, all-day recruiting information for football and basketball, and really more metrics and analytics and X and O type analysis than we've ever had before. So that's at ACCsports.com. You can find our radio show at davidglennshow.com. And I just posted recently my mid-season all-ACC basketball team for theathletic.com. Got a lot of great feedback, Coach of the Year, Player of the Year, all-ACC, all-transfer team, etc. So you can find that at The Athletic Carolina if you don't see it at the national site, theathletic.com.
Yeah, and just by the way, as a testimonial, Tom Van Hoy and I were on the run to a Furman basketball game last week, and we did go to the David Glenn Show page and find a link to listen to your show while we were on the run. So there you go. It works. David, thank you, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that stroll down amnesia lane as well.
I love it. That is Dave Glenn of ACCsports.com. When we come back, we'll close out the show with Adam Herendeen, and we'll talk about this fun online auction coming up to raise money for the women's tennis program here at Furman, and we'll do that on the other side as the Dan Scott Show returns right after this. When you're looking for the home of a lifetime, you need a realtor you can trust. With more than 27 years experience selling real estate, Gel Sartain is the choice to help the discriminating buyer find the home of their dreams. Licensed in both South Carolina and Georgia, Gel specializes in homes on beautiful lakes Hartwell and Kiwi, as well as the surrounding areas, and has a wealth of experience working with people with technical backgrounds. Now is the time to buy, sell, and invest in real estate in the Clemson-Seneca area. Let Gail help you realize that dream today. Call her at 404-317-3171. That's Gail Sartain, a member of the National Association of Realtors.
We're all trying to find our way, forge a path, blaze a trail. The work is hard and the work is personal, but you can't do it alone. At Furman, we're committed to giving you an advantage, the Furman Advantage. We know that graduates who are emotionally supported and who have deep learning experiences in college are 3 times as likely to be engaged at work and thriving in life. At Furman, all students are guaranteed 4 years of rigorous classroom education integrated with high-impact research, internships, study away, and a community of support every step of the way. This is the Furman Advantage.
Hey everybody, Dan Scott. You know, I've been telling you for some time now that I switched to protection of my home and family to Security Complete. I can tell you that I've been ecstatic with the results. Locally owned with more than 40 years experience in the industry, Security Complete uses nothing but the latest technology, which equals low overhead, which equals greater savings to the customer. Fully automated systems with monitoring rates much lower than the competition. Security Complete gives you all this and does not require a contract of any length. Find out more by calling 864-546-0630 or find them on Facebook and Twitter. Security Complete, my first line of defense. Make them yours today.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at cincyfavorites.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Scott here, and I want to tell you about my technology partner, Carolina Creative Group. When my show needed a creative technology boost, I turned to Carolina Creative Group. My custom design website is going to take marketing as well as brand strategy and development to new levels. The search engine optimization means that my clients' ads will be seen by more people more often. And if I have any questions, Carolina Creative Group is just a phone call away. Friends, that is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You can find out all the ways that Carolina Creative Group can help your business by simply calling 864-250-2012. Again, that's 864-250-2012, or simply visit them online at carolinacreative.co. Carolina Creative Group, technology partner of the Dan Scott Show. All right, welcome back to the show as we hit the final segment here. Our thanks, as always, to Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com, and you'll be able to go catch that interview again, the audio of it in the not-too-distant future at thedanscottshow.com. Just go to the highlights and interviews page. You can see the young man joining us here in the final segment. Adam Herendeen is the women's tennis coach here at Furman. They have a cool event coming up. Open practice on Saturday with an open house following it, and all tied to a silent auction as they try to raise a little money for the women's tennis program. Adam, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be back.
First of all, you got all this going on just as the season's about to crank up, right?
Yeah, not real good planning, huh? No, it's a fun way to start the year. We have 2 big matches, so we thought, let's make it a big event. So it's a busy couple weeks for us, but we're excited about it. That's for sure.
Well, we've got the information up on the screen that people can see. It's the huge silent auction to benefit the program. Mentioned the open house at 4 p.m. Saturday. The auction actually begins online.
That's right.
Right?
So the auction has started now. So this is our 3rd year doing the event, and it starts online. Bidding ends online at 11 o'clock on Friday night, and then final bids are taken on Saturday. So you can win online, but we want you to come and meet the team and do all that on Saturday. So the highest bid wins, but obviously you have the best chance to win if you come.
So you bid through Friday night, But if you don't show up to the event, somebody could outbid you who
They
does
could.
show up, right?
But if you made a big enough bid online,
Well,
I guess it would be all right, right? It's all to a good cause.
Absolutely. So you can see the address of the website there on the screen, 32auctions.com/Furman Tennis 2019. And when you go there, you're going to see this impressive list of stuff that they have up for auction. Everything from $50 gift cards to stacks, which how awesome is that? People love stacks
That's
here.
right.
But as you and I were talking, got some nice little getaways.
That's right. Our players did a great job of rounding up stuff for the auction, and the stuff I'm excited about are the getaways. We got to go on vacation anyway, so why not bid on a great vacation for the summer? But we have so many people who are so generous to give items, and so it's a great way for our team to raise some money, but also people can get some really good deals on some great items and some great vacations.
Starts with something as simple as a one-night stay at the Embassy Suites.
That's right.
Condo rental down in Bradenton, Florida. And as we scroll down through, you're telling me there are also, a couple of Hilton Head giveaways?
2 different weeks in Hilton Head, and 2 also at a house in the North Georgia Mountains,
Yeah, mountain
which I've
cabin.
been to, and it's really nice.
You've actually been to this?
I have. I actually was able to go twice last summer, so that's a great one as well.
That's fantastic. All kinds of tennis gear. Even saw a golf bag.
That's right.
Snuck in there.
That's right.
Some Paladin bottle openers and all kinds of stuff. Tennis Center membership. I mean, there are just no shortage of things that should catch the attention of people kind of all across the board.
That's right. And there's actually 2 pages. I think that the first page catches everybody's attention, but there's also some items on the second page, which online I think has gotten a little lost. I don't think people realize that second page is even there. And there's also a week getaway I forgot to mention there at a lake up in Tennessee. So there's also great things on the second page.
See, I did not see that second page.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, there you go. So make sure when you go to the website that you do check the second page, because there are a couple of getaways on that second page as well. And you know what? Maybe if you're bidding online, maybe somebody won't see that. Maybe it'll be just because you're a viewer of the Dan Scott Show, maybe that'll be your own little kind of secret thing you can go check out.
That's right. Now, just judging by last year when we put it online, I think that about half the items were actually won online. So if you can't make it to the event, you can still have a very good chance to win by just bidding online.
You said this is the third year?
The third year. The first year, to be honest, we got the idea about 2 weeks before we did it, and we just threw it together. And our parents the last 3 years, our players' parents have provided all the food. So we actually have basically zero expenses. Everything is straight to our program. And so it went great, but we didn't raise much because it was obviously our first year. So last year we raised the goal, and we got up to 40-something items.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I think we're going to be over 60 items and even nicer stuff maybe.
So what will Saturday look like?
Saturday's a lot of fun. Open practices may be something that other sports do a lot of, but I don't see too many tennis teams do it. The first year we did it, it was really nice weather, so we had a lot of people out, and we have music playing. And to be honest, we just let the girls play a lot. We'll play some doubles and some singles to get ready for the next day. We have 5 freshmen, so there's a lot of new faces, and a lot of those girls are going to be playing on Sunday. So it's a great chance to see the team, and then afterwards we go inside to the tennis center in the lobby, and the players will sign some posters. There will be some snacks, some mingling, obviously some bidding on items, and then the players and I will share about the season and what we're excited about and what our program's about and who we want to be and where we're going. And so it's just a great time, and all our players' parents usually come, all the ones that can make it, and then so many people from the community come, and it's a really good experience.
And then at the end, you'll announce the winners, right?
That's right. So final bids are at 5:15. So that's obviously, if you're going to be there, that's the time to be there. So you can get that last bid in, but that's the plan. And we set it all up to lead right into the Wofford basketball game. So that actually just happened. But, so we'll finish at 5:30, and, the basketball game's after that. So it works out good for everybody.
It's good to see the growth from the first year. And anytime you do something for the first time, you always learn what you didn't do right.
That's right.
So what do you think you learned from year 2 to year 3?
So 1 to 2, we added the online portion, which was a really big part of it. 2 to 3, I think one thing we're planning to do is have the items spread out all around the tennis center. Use it as a chance to show off we have a beautiful facility. show off our facility, but also to kind of create more mingling. We had them all in one area last year, and it created it's hard to get around and bid on everything. So we're going to kind of have it more of an open setup, let everyone move around, and then we obviously just started a lot earlier in collecting items, and like I said, our players and our support structure on our team has been really generous. So I think it's going to be a much more polished event, and just a lot of great stuff that people can bid on.
So tell us a little bit about the makeup of this year's team. I mean, you kind of gave us a hint, five freshmen, huh?
Yeah, so we're young, but at the top we have some great upperclassmen. So we return our 1 and 2 from last year, who were a junior. Katerina Kozarov is a junior, and Caddy Weymouth is our senior. So we have 2 seniors for us up at the top, but then after that it's a lot of younger players. So we have 2 sophomores and 5 freshmen that are battling out for those spots. So it's really an exciting time, and I think sometimes in practice I feel like we're younger than we are, because it's not like we're sticking a freshman up at number 1 singles first match, but it's definitely exciting, and it's been a big learning process, but the girls have been great. We just got back from training in Orlando last week, and they've been working really hard and are excited to get started.
So since you've been doing this is a little different makeup of the team, right?
That's right.
First time you've had this much youth.
We had 6 new players 2 years ago, but one was an upperclassman and one was a January enrollee who was technically not, was a redshirt freshman kind of deal. So it's definitely the most freshmen we've had at once. But they're a great group, and we have a great core group of leaders, so that it makes it a lot more manageable.
Perfect world, how many of those contribute?
I think that depends on a lot of factors. It depends on how healthy we are. I think that 3 of them will definitely be starting on opening day. But after that, I think that there's some opportunities for the others to get in there as well. But I think that they have a lot of talent and a lot of work ethic, and so they're a great group, and they're going to be really big for our program for the next 4 years, hopefully.
Who do you open with on Sunday?
So we start with Elon. We beat them 4-3 last year.
And that's here?
That's here on Sunday at noon, and then Georgia State on Monday at 2, and that was a deciding match, 4-3. Georgie Walker, who's a sophomore, clinched it in 3 sets last year in a wild, epic match. So they're both big matches. So we're excited and hope to have a lot of people out, because we're not easing into it by any means. Elon's a big rival from our days when they were in the SoCon with us. So 2 really, really competitive, good matches to see where our team's at.
And you get a chance to open up at home.
That's right.
And get people here on campus.
That's right. Absolutely right. So, and I don't know if we'll be indoors or out. A lot of that depends on the weather. Right now, it looks like we may be out on Sunday and in on Monday, which is a little different. But it all has to do with the weather. So if the weather's nice, we'll be outside. But if not, obviously we have the indoors, and it's great viewing in there as well. So
nice to have that flexibility, right?
That's right. We're very blessed there. That's for sure.
All right. So as we come to the end here, just again a reminder that the open practice 2 to 4 p.m. on Saturday.
That's right.
And then the open house from 4 to 5:30. The auction is going on now online as we speak at 32auctions.com/Furman Tennis 2019, and you can bid online through 11 p.m. Friday night.
That's right.
And then once you get to the tennis center for the open house, you can bid from 4 o'clock until 5:15.
Last bid's at 5:15. That's right.
And then the winners will be announced.
That's right.
And again, we just ran through some of the items that are available.
And you don't have to be there to bid as well. If you have someone that's there that can bid for you, we've had that done in the past as well.
But again, several nice trips. Hilton Head, the Mountain House in Georgia, condo in Bradenton, Embassy Suites downtown.
That's right.
Amongst all the other things, a lot of nice gear. Go check it out. Again, it's right there on your screen, the address to get to the auction site. And don't forget, there is a second page.
That's right.
I didn't see it, but there is a second page out there. Anybody wants any more information, Adam, what's the best way to get it?
It's all over our social media. So Furman W Tennis on Instagram or Twitter, and then Furman Women's Tennis on Facebook. So it's all over all of that. Go give us a follow, and you'll be able to see all of it.
Sounds good. Looking forward to seeing how things work out. Good luck, man. I hope you surpass your goal.
That's right. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
All right, that is going to put a wrap on things for us here on this Wednesday edition of the show. Don't forget that tomorrow Brett Harker will be in this seat at 10:25 as baseball practice opens less than a month away from first pitch. And then Friday at 10:25 via phone, Todd Shaughnessy from the Spartanburg Herald Journal to help us preview Furman and Wofford basketball Saturday night. Until then, until tomorrow, I'm Dan Scott saying go out and make a positive difference in somebody else's life. God bless you. So long, everybody.